So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is trained by ANBU for Chunin exams. Part 2. If you guys enjoy this, what if, and you want the next part of this video, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content. And leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends. And check out the description. And check out my playlist. So let's start the video. Chapter 5. Neji sat and watched the kids eating. He had not been impressed at all. No, that is not who he had been impressed with the graduating class's so-called losers. Even his cousin, who couldn't stand her gentle nature and kind smile, was performing very well. The Uchiha had also performed. Okay. For Neji's option, but the six that seemed to keep a tight group, they were solid. And he noticed how the blonde dead last one faded to fail, always had his eyes on him, and always made sure he was between Neji and Hinata. This training camp was far more than he ever thought possible, and this chief was just as harsh as his uncle had warned. Night before, Neji was in the dojo he used at the Hyuga compound, alone as usual since most avoided him. The leader of the main house and clan head, who was his uncle as well, walked in. The Hashirama, Neji spoke as he stopped his training and kneeled to the man. Stand, Neji, the man spoke. Obeying, Neji stood and waited. Your Chunin sensei spoke to me saying he wished to join the new graduates training camp. Yes sir, he spoke to me as well, said I could join if I wanted to, but made it clear it was my choice, Neji replied. I declined. As Guy said, it is your choice and no one can force you, not even me, Hiashi spoke calmly and noticed how Neji narrowed his eyes at that statement. But I suggest you go, you will learn more than you ever thought. Neji waited as he thought. This was something he had not seen in his uncle before. May I think about it? Yes, I want this to be your choice, and yours only. If the chief even thinks that I might have pushed or forced you to go, he will remove my eyes at the least, Hiashi replied with his words full of conviction. That startled Neji. Never had the clan head ever admitted he was worried about a single person. Chief is dangerous, he is also far older than he looks. The truth is no one knows how old he is. He is very skilled and has killed more people than most. The Yondaime is probably the closest to body counts. When not training our elite forces, he is an assassin, one of our most effective. To be an elite Chunin or ANBU means you have survived him. Hiashi spoke, reading Neji's face. The boy stared at him. The training looked more interesting by the minute. If you go, and it will be your choice, know this, Hiashi continued. Don't use your Byakugan. That stopped Neji cold. What? He asked, forgetting all honorifics. Do not use your Byakugan, it will be of no use to you with him. Here Hiashi did something Neji had never seen. He sighed and took a seat, motioning the boy to sit with him. With the clan head not at his feet. Chief Kuzai developed a skill that blocks all Genjutsu and affects all Dojutsus as well. It works on ours in the Uchihas. Not sure if it works on the others, as I do not know if it was ever tested, but I have no doubt that it does. Some claim that the effects on the Byakugan were a side effect of the techniques, but I know for fact he made it for the Byakugan. He did it just to piss off the Hyuga clan. Neji remained quiet. This was something he had never heard of. Never had he thought it was possible to beat the all-seeing eye his clan was famous for. Why? Why would he do that just to piss us off? Your words, Oji-sama. He has a powerful and complete hatred of our clan. Even I do not know where it started. I do know the number of Hyugas he has any respect for can be counted on one hand with fingers left over. And I am not on that list. Neji sat and ate as he looked to the chief as he now walked with a new woman who seemed kind and caring as she went around, hands glowing blue as she healed many of the beaten kids. He had let Tenten with her limited skill to treat his. To test it, he activated his Byakugan. Chief vanished and the girl became a very hazy blur. Seems he did teach someone his skill. Neji, once his eyes were back to normal, admitted that this training had turned out more important than he had ever thought possible. Sasuke was sore, he was tired, he knew he was being pushed hard, and he ran the attacks. Then the rapid move into physical training, then he realized it. This was how Itachi described ANBU training. He was being trained the same way Itachi was. And he knew he was not doing as well as he thought he could. He was not ready, never thought for a second this would happen here today, and what was worse was the dead last. Naruto had come prepared, Sasuke had sneered when he saw him and the others getting ready. The Uchiha cursed himself as his muscles cramped as he ran. Well, the Uchiha heir would not be caught flat-footed again for whatever was next. Then Sasuke finished his meal and started to go through warm-up stretches. A few other boys saw this and did as well. But Sasuke could not clear his mind as he still thought about the blonde in orange. He had not spoken or in fact acknowledged Sasuke once. No boosts about who is better, who would win, nothing. He had never cared about anyone's option, but now. He had never been ignored before. He did not know what to think. Sakura and Ino sat together, both worn out already. Though the food and rest helped a little, both were still tired. If you didn't count Hinata, the girl with the buns, both clearly doing better than any other girl. The and the bleach blonde were the only ones able to actually sit up. It had only been 3 hours and already the other girls were beaten. If Sakura remembered correctly, this camp lasted until 10 that night. 6 more hours of who knew what. How are my little toys doing? Some evil voice interrupted Sakura's thoughts. Anko had slid up between them, an arm draped over them casually, a shiver went through their spines as fear gripped them. She pulled them both closer to her and started to whisper. Tell you girls a secret, the reason I am so hateful to you both is. You have wasted yourselves. Both were shocked. Neither knew what to think. The rest of the girls, she motioned to the group in front of them. Are trash, plain and simple, but you two and Hinata had great potential. And only Hinata-chan is proving her worth. Little 10 there from the previous year is also useful. But those are the only two. Iranko seemed to get angrier. Ueno. Are Yamanaka, I have worked with your father for years, a shinobi I respect. Your mother was a skilled chunin in her time before she dedicated her life to you, a waste if you ask me. You had the right breeding and came from a respected clan, and you wasted it. Anko did not wait for a reply, she switched to Sakura. You, Pinky, have some of the highest grades in the academy. You have a great brain and are highly intelligent. You also have some of the best chakra control ever seen. In your class, you are second only to Hinata and she has been training in control longer than you. Your mother and father are not an old ninja clan, but they both became shinobi, they too gave up their careers for you and you like Ino wasted it. You're going to find yourself some fat smelly greasy guy's personal toys. Or maybe you will be taken by a woman that enjoys the squeals of fooling girls begging her to stop. Anko stopped and just ran her fingers through both girls' hair. Then moved away and her evil playful voice vanished and Anko looked like a very serious shinobi. Both are possible if you two don't get your heads out of your asses and take your training and your careers as shinobi seriously. And the crazy woman just slipped away leaving the two girls thinking. Lee was in heaven, the hard training and the improving of oneself at every step. He loved it, he finished his meal, which was good, not the curry of life, but good, and so he felt he needed to get back to training. So, he got down to start push-ups. But stopped as he felt the tip of a cane on his neck holding him down. I said rest for 1 hour, Chief spoke. Not 45 minutes, sit. Lee quickly sat in a cross-legged position and looked up at the man. There will be times you're on a mission and you can't move, not even a muscle. You will have to stay in one spot and any twitch will cost you, either your life or the life of your teammates. Everyone stopped and listened to the man. Naruto smiled as Chief was doing his teaching without anyone realizing a thing. I have always respected Guy, his passion, dedication, pure raw emotion, his flames of youth as he calls it. It has pushed him further than anyone could think possible, it will push you there as well. But a shinobi needs to be able to be fast, silent, and deadly. That comes with patience and time. Meditate, become one with the area you are in, know where everyone is and what they are doing while your eyes are closed. Chief walked away leaving the green-clad student closing his eyes. Naruto and crew were finished eating and sat waiting, his eyes drifting to Tucci and the millions of questions he had about his parents. Who is that? Shino asked calmly, and Naruto looked. Walking through the kids without making a sound, a woman just smiled and healed the kids. She had a simple look much like Chief, as if you would not notice her in a crowd. The only things to stand out were her hair, black long with a hint of blood red, and a choker around her neck with a yin-yang symbol and a kanji he could not see yet. No idea, must be new, Naruto replied. I think that's Chief's apprentice Mai. Kurenai told me a little about her, Hinata replied. If it is, she can only speak with sign language. She seems nice, Choji watched. Looks can be deceiving, as a shinobi they usually are, Shika added as he watched as well. Time is up, Chief called. You have 5 minutes, then everyone will be in the lake swimming across it and back. I trust everyone has the standard swimming attire with them, as is required for all shinobi. Naruto watched and most gave a tiny nod, but a few looked worried. Chief led them on a trail that led to a large beach. Swim in whatever you are comfortable in but leave all other equipment here on the shore, any questions or complaints? Chief asked. Almost no one replied. All but one green-clad genin, Lee stepped forward. Chief, he spoke up. I cannot swim. I looked at his student almost heartbroken as he realized he did not know that. He failed his student. One of the boys started to snicker. Crack. The cane from dog broke the silence. No one insults their fellow shinobi around me, Chief spoke, never taking his eyes off Lee. Boy, are you prepared to learn how to swim right now? Yosh, Lee shouted. Leave the weights and prepare, Chief ordered, and for a moment Lee was about to argue with the Chief, but stopped as Guy coughed. The Nin Guy of Team 9, Chief, spoke, taking his eyes off Lee. For failure to see to your students' training. 10,000 push-ups. On your pinkies. Yes, Chief, Guy shouted as he got on his pinkies and started. A sight that scared most. Move it, trash. Anko shouted as she started to motivate the girls into the lake. Naruto and crew had slipped in the water, Shino and Choji were wearing a standard thin full bodysuit. Shino to protect his allies and Choji. Well, he was still a little self-conscious. Shika, Kiba and Naruto just wore trunks. Hinata fought like hell and beat the blush. Hinata wore a basic one piece that showed more of her forming curves than she had let anyone see outside of the bathhouse. No one said anything. Naruto may have smiled in his head at how cute she looked, but no one said anything. That was brave, admitting he could not swim. Kiba started as the swarm, Akamaru paddling with them. We take it for granted simply because our families began teaching us young, Choji replied as he proved to be an excellent swimmer. Bested in the water only by Hinata. Hinata did not swim, she flowed with it, it was almost artistic and angelic to watch her. Naruto almost drowned twice. Well, I had to learn almost on my own, Naruto spoke, waking his mind back up. Almost? Shika asked. I always had an ANBU watching me, normally the same one. Which one? Choji asked. Naruto just smiled and pointed his thumb up behind them. Walking on the water behind the group was Dog. It shocked the group as none of them had realized he was walking there. This was not a random sight as all the instructors walked or jogged to the water as the kids swam. Yep, when I realized I was being watched I made it a game to always try and find him. It is how I learned to detect ANBU. Now I can find almost all of them at any time. Dog turned his head to the side staring at the blonde. Do you know about dogs? Naruto asked as he turned to a backstroke and slapped his stomach. Dog nodded. But Hinata, there is something I need to tell you. I learned why I am hated. Naruto started talking and she too went to a backstroke to listen. The truth is that you housed the nine-tailed fox, Hinata finished. Everyone stopped, even Dog. How? Naruto asked and Shika and Shino were very interested. Kiba and Choji took a defensive position, making sure no one was close to hearing. You have the largest chakra reservoir I have ever seen and parts of it are red. And I have only ever heard of demon chakra being red before. I heard some elders talking about the demon brat and what he housed since birth. You were the only baby born around the time of the attack. I guessed it a few years ago. She finished and started to blush at the stares from all the boys. Ears? Shino asked and Hinata nodded. We did not even think about the possibilities till Naruto told us. This morning, Shika spoke. They had stopped swimming and Dog smacked the water to get them moving again. Thank you Hinata, Naruto spoke. He knew no matter how oblivious he acted to her she never gave up on him and now he knew that she had known this the whole time. He did not know what to say so he looked for a change of topic. Dog just looked at the boy and did not speak. Naruto looked back over the lake where they started and watched where Chief was with Lee. Lee was waist deep in the water wading in his lime green shorts. Chief will have to deal with that too. Chief himself just stood on top of the water using his bamboo cane as a cane. Lay on your back, use your arms and legs to tread water. Slowly, this is not a race. Before you try to increase your speed, learn the movements first. Lee nodded as he obeyed. Soon he was floating while using his arms and legs to push himself. It was not easy, it was different and he had to learn how each limb moved in the water. Can we help you? Chief spoke and Lee saw Naruto and his group swimming back to them. We came to join and couldn't leave a fellow leaf shinobi behind. Naruto smiled as he and the rest took the same position and backstroked Lee. Never stop moving Lee, Chief spoke. Movement is the main thing that keeps you afloat. The kids just swam asking Lee questions and basically just got to know each other. 90 meters, Chief spoke. Congratulations Lee, you can now swim. Now place your left arm on your chest, roll on your right side and just use your right arm and legs. But this everyone obeyed, it was a lot harder for everyone. Then the chief had them switch to the other arm. Now you can carry a comrade, rescue a villager from a flood. Move supplies, in time you will learn to do it without splashing. Chief, if we all learn to walk on water, Choji started to ask. There are missions where you need to get across water without being seen and a person walking on water is very noticeable, Chief replied calmly as he just walked with them. The kids thought about that and just nodded. Okay, Akamaru, your turn, Chief called the dog who paddled up. Lee, roll on your belly, just use your hands and feet to tread water. He obeyed and watched everyone, even the dog. It is called doggy paddling. It's a basic style to learn. Never let anyone insult you about it, it can save your life. Chief spoke as the kids swam. The lake was massive. It took almost an hour for most of the group to make it across. Lee, though did not know how to swim at first, learned fast and the group was catching some of the main group. Both Sasuke and Neji had swum as hard and as fast as they could, Sasuke to be first and Neji without Guy holding him back because he would not let Itachi be first again. They reached the far bank and back, Chief spoke. Alright Lee, now all you do is stretch your arms out further, Hinata started as she took a lead to show him what to do after the doggy paddle. And I think we should try with as little splash as possible. Naruto smiled as Hinata was quickly coming out of that damn shell. He knew Kurenai-sensei was helping her and would be a great help to his friend Crush. But Naruto was going to help as well. The crack chief's cane met Naruto's skull as the rest of the group had pulled away. The swim was just that, a swim, no hidden attacks, though Anko did have to motivate a few girls that were wearing swimsuits that were more show than use and had tried to get the Uchiha's attention. The welts on their ass cheeks left something to be desired. "They're stupid kids, none of you are old enough to have anything to show off," she screamed. Anko herself was not in a good mood, she actually had to save 2 girls and a boy, the one that laughed at Lee, from drowning. Yugao was standing with her hand on her shoulder holding the crazy snake charmer still, and Mai tended to the 3 kids. As soon as Mai stood and nodded, Yugao let go. Anko growled back and hit all 3 across their asses at one time, the crack and the scream sent chills through everyone's spines, even Yugao's. Dry dress 5 minutes returned to circles. Chief shouted as he just walked on shore, Naruto and crew with him. "Guy-sensei," Lee started, but then heard the hiss from Hinata about silent, "Guy-sensei," Lee corrected and went to his mentor who was still doing the push-ups. "We must add swimming to our training." "Yes, Lee," Guy spoke as he finished and got to his knees and bowed, "Forgive me for failing you." Ten shivered as she watched it was about to happen. Again. 2 minutes, Chief shouted. Respecting Guy and his passion did not mean Chief ever wanted to deal with that, not even his jutsu could break the Chinjutsu. As everyone moved to the area with their circles they passed and stopped to stare at. Bodies. Body bags were placed along both sides of the trail, many bodies looked fresh, throat slit, gut spilling out. All died painfully. "These kids are a dead body, all these shinobi failed," Chief spoke as he walked past. "They failed their training, they failed their duty. This will happen to you if you fail, this will happen to your friends if you fail," to the circles. The group moved quick but quiet, the sight of dead bodies just hit them to a new core. Not even Naruto nor his crew were ready for that, it wasn't just the dead bodies. If that was how they died. Deep down Naruto had always known that a shinobi's death was never as grand or heroic as the storybooks wrote, but knowing it and seeing it were 2 different things. Returning to their circles the group stood and waited. "Ada, pick which one you prefer, whether it is the standard or a family form. I will even accept you using one you made up." "Begin," Chief ordered and most people started the standard form, Anko's cane would correct a mistake. The crack was heard regularly from the girls' side of the group. Sasuke started his family style, Chief walked by him as he was finishing a set and just moved a hand and foot over just a bit and continued on. Naruto was working on the form that Chief had shown him, every time he overextended a fist, crack on the knuckles or a foot. Crack on the shin. And like before Chief just hit Naruto harder. And harder. And harder each time. Toji went different, his style was more sumo or judo. A lot of open hand thrusts and stomping his feet to the ground. When the Chief corrected him he just moved a hand or showed him where his foot needed to be. As he walked by Hinata she could feel his eyes watching as she moved, she knew she was missing her marks, but he did not try to correct her, he just walked past. What disturbed her was he did not scuff or shake his head, he just walked by, she did not know how to handle that. "Stop," Chief called. Some collapsed from exhaustion, some just held their knees breathing hard. "Time?" Naruto asked. 8:30, Shino replied, and everyone looked at him. Started swimming at 2 and swam for 3 hours, now caught is for roughly 3.5 hours give or take. "Boys with me," Chief called. "Girls follow Anko." "Anko, I trust you can deal with the girls without my help." The woman just smiled evilly and held up her cane. Now the girls were scared, though she had been evil with them, Chief did, in fact, stop the woman more than once, and now that he was not going to be there, they feared for their lives. Hinata walked with Tent and as they watched the group of girls, they noticed Sakura and Ino also walking off to the side together. Hinata made short conversation with the older girl as they were led deeper into the woods. As they reached a clearing they found the ground covered with pillows. "Asses, find a seat," Anko called as the girls went to find a seat. As everyone sat they looked at the older shinobi, Anko glared at them all as Yugao looked indifferent, Mai was sitting up in a tree swinging her legs back and forth with a pleasant smile on her face. Kurenai stepped forward. "For years the argument has been made, many think women cannot be as good a shinobi as males. That argument will probably never end, but there is one field that women are not just as good, we are the best at. Bodywork missions. Lipstick missions, a mission that requires seduction to complete." That got the girl listening, no one spoke, no one removed their eyes from the woman. The idea that a girl should remain pure or should only be intimate with the one they marry is a civilian idea, and only civilians can think that way. You are Kunoichis, you are shinobi, every inch of your being is a tool, and you should know how to use it to complete the mission. We are not bound by civilian etiquette, for it has no place in a shinobi world. There was a warlord many years ago, cruel, corrupt, evil, and many shinobi died trying to kill this man. In the end, all the ninja clans claimed he was unkillable, simply because he could not be reached in his fortress. A girl that had been harmed by this warlord's men seduced and enticed the warlord from afar, tricked him into taking her to a private room where she pushed a hidden blade up into his brain, quick, quiet, and effective. She left the room later with a smile and a sway in her hip, and none of the warlord's men knew he was dead for hours after she had made it out. That was the assassination that changed the rules. Before women were only good for tending home and producing and raising children, then we killed the unkillable. I want all Kunoichis to be their best. I believe that women are just as good as men in all fields. But make no mistake, bodywork missions are our field, though men do take them as well. Men have had to seduce women, men have had to seduce men in order to complete a mission. But bodywork missions are our specialty. She stopped and watched each face. Most looked scared or blushing deep red, some looked at themselves with a self-conscious look. The training for bodywork missions is long, no kunoichi from the Leaf Village will be sent before the age of 18 and only after they train for close to 3 years before. Not all girls can do bodywork and no one can be ordered to do it, you must volunteer. Lust, desire, and perversion of power, these are traits we find in most humans, so we learn to use them to our advantage. Do not worry about a reputation in the village, any act performed during a mission cannot be used against you, a husband cannot punish their wife, and a wife cannot punish a husband. If someone speaks negatively about you, they have their tongue removed. The Hokage has no tolerance for anyone that disrespects one of his kunoichi for doing whatever it takes to finish the mission and get home alive. The woman looked around one more time then stepped back. Mai jumped from the tree with a smile and nodded her head to Yugao. Are you sure you want to do this part? She asked the woman. Who knows better? Translate for me. I am 30 years old. 17 years ago I was a young innocent naive genin of just 13, doing my first C rank mission outside of the village walls. Our genin was away, so it was just us three. We were ambushed, my teammates died, I was captured and taken to a cave. There were 9 of them, 5 males and 4 females. I was raped for 2 days non-stop, every degrading thing that could be done to a female's body was. After those 2 days one of the men complained about the sounds of my crying and screaming and wanted to remove my tongue. The leader, one of the women, said she had uses for my tongue. Mai stopped and reached to remove her choker, under it on Mai's throat were several jagged nasty scars. They ripped out my vocal cords instead. 2 years I was in that cave. In my time 108 others were brought there, mostly kunoichis, but some civilians and a few boys. But, mostly girls none older than 15. 108 and I was the only one to leave that cave alive. I was broken. I forgot my name. I was a shinobi. All I knew or cared about was serving who I thought of as gods and goddesses, I knew and cared about nothing else. This happened because I was lazy in my training, I laxed in my training of my body and was easily beaten. I did not train my mind, so I was broken just as easily. I did not train my spirit, so I did not care about myself. I only got out because another shinobi found the cave and rescued me and stayed with me for 5 years as I slowly healed my mind, body and soul. I ran away and tried to sell myself as a slave again. It was the only thing I knew, he always found me and brought me back. But in time I healed and recovered. Memories, feelings, everything. 10 years ago I regained my spiritual strength, I could look at myself and be happy. I cared about myself for the first time in 7 years. Since then I have traveled with that man that saved me and he has trained me and cared for me, he saved me from hell. Here Mai looked at the girls and her face grew very dark and very evil. So, if any of you stupid cheap trashing cunts ever insult the chief again, I will slice off your ears, remove your nose and rip out your tongues, then I will stick you in a room of mirrors and force you to look at yourselves for the rest of your days. Mai turned to walk away but stopped. When that started I was a shinobi of Kusagakure. Yes, I was a grass ninja, the people that captured me were shinobi of the Leaf Village. But that Mai did walk away leaving Yugao to finish. That ladies, has always been and unless something changes will always be a threat we face, whether you are a housewife safe in a home or a shinobi on a massive battlefield that will always be a threat. What can be done? 1. Train your bodies, become strong and able to fight back. To prevent being captured. 2. Train your minds, if you are captured and assaulted, training your minds will help you find a way to take advantage of the situation, gain your freedoms and survive. 3. Train your spirit, it is only when they break your spirit can you be broken. If you have a strong spirit you can survive anything. Survive it, escape it and then return to punish them and kill them all. Focus on your training, this is not some fairy tale book. This ends the mandatory training starting tomorrow, it is all volunteer and I assure you it only gets harder and nastier from here. Dismissed. The girls quickly got up and left heading back along a trail. Sakura and Ino walked in silence side by side. They were listening for the other girls. That wasn't any fun, they were so mean. Wouldn't it be great if I was captured and Sasuke came and rescued me? The two were shocked, did none of them get the meaning of any of that? That's why I hate fangirls. Tenten spoke behind them, they turned and found the older girl walking with Hinata. No words could be said, so the two friends rivals just stayed quiet. When they left the forest, they saw their mothers standing there waiting. The two girls walked in silence and were greeted with hugs from their mothers. That night Sakura and her mom stayed at Ino's. Hinata and Tenten walked and as they left the forest they were met by Naruto and the guys along with Lee. Hey Hinata, Kiba said we were all heading to his place for the night, Naruto smiled. Well I better head home, Tenten wants me to walk with you, make sure you get to your father's shop. Lee asked. Thanks, Lee, we'll see you tomorrow. she said asked. Naruto smirked, wouldn't miss it. Lee gave a thumbs up in a nice guy pose, and Naruto smiled again and just bumped his fist to Lee's. Smirking, the guys all followed suit as they passed. Hinata wasn't sure, but in an act of boldness did the same and raced to catch up. Is it okay, wouldn't Kurenai will be joining us? A woman with wild hair and red face markings walked up. You must be Hinata, I am Tsukiba's mom now, come along kids. Arriving at the compound, the boys found all their mothers standing with Kurenai, Anko, and Yugao. How did it go? A large woman who could only be Choji's mom asked. The kids looked at each other and then looked around, seeing no one was watching, all 6 hit the dirt face first and passed out, even Naruto. Leave it to the chief to find a way to break the stamina of an Uzumaki. The first day was complete. Chapter 6. Uzai walked into the Inuzuka compound as the parents were picking the sleeping kids up to take them to a comfier bed, the only one left was Naruto. You get him chief? Naruto asked without moving, shocking several of the people. Yes, he snapped a picture of you 6 out cold, they now think they know your limit, chief replied. Naruto rolled and slowly got up, he may have still been awake, but he was more tired than he had ever been before. So? You can't break a Uzumaki's stamina? Choji's mother asked, almost smirking. I haven't tried yet, chief replied. Wait a few days I will break him yet. I am right here you know, Naruto spoke. Who the hell was watching us, I could barely notice them. He is a root shinobi, chief replied. See you tomorrow get some rest. Today was just a warm-up. The chief left and Naruto nodded and went to find someplace to sleep. Take off the mask. Chief spoke as he walked down the main street heading for the tower. Og slipped in step with him and removed the mask, Kakashi just walked with him. What do you feel? Chief asked. Uchiha has the skill and drive, but no path and what he focuses on will lead only to ruin. Kakashi replied. He cares for nothing. I doubt he even cares for himself at the moment. I believe the popular term is emo, Chief nodded. You got your work cut out for you. And the girl. The mess, thanks to Anko she is doubting everything she thought she knew, the bleached blonde too. Asuma will take care of her. Your focus should be the pink and the prince, Chief said as they leaped up and started walking up the tower. If the pink returns tomorrow she has a chance. Sure, give me the hard one and call it easy, he is such a basket case he doesn't even try to have a life. How can I teach him to be a team player, Kakashi asked. If it was easy everyone would be asked to be a sensei, Chief replied as they reached the top and just entered the window. I expected you here half an hour ago Hokage spoke as they entered. Losing your touch. Brute agents outside of the compound had to do a show. Chief replied as he sat. Hiruzen went quiet, he wanted to believe the route had been shut down when ordered. But he never actually believed it. Danzo would never stop. Another of his mistakes he will need Chief to fix. Forget route, they have made a move and we have played them. Naruto is very skilled when it comes to tricking people. I cannot wait to see his first sabotage mission, it should be fun. Chief smiled. Kakashi gave the Hokage a debriefing on the day, Hiruzen was not happy with how bad the majority did, Chief was busy reading a scroll and seemed to be ignoring the talk till he cleared his throat. I told you I only expected 9 to make it and looking at the teams you planned, here he held up a scroll, I have one question. Now both the Chunin and the Hokage grew worried. Uzumaki, Uchiha and Haruno, a seal master, a jutsu master and a woman with a nasty temper, a worse right cross and incredible chakra control. You weren't planning to restart the Sannin team, were you? The room went silent. And cold, Hiruzen knew of the chief's hatred for Orochimaru and he never hesitated to remind the Hokage of that mistake. Hiruzen looked to speak, but Chief would not let him. That team was cursed from the start, one is so obsessed with not dying that he is killing hundreds if not thousands trying to make himself immortal, has gone down the path so far that he isn't even human anymore. And he has made the Snake Clan the most despised summons around, hell even Anko is distrusted for being a snake summoner. Chief waited for a reply, but knew none was coming, the broken look in the Hokage's eyes actually made him consider cutting the man some slack. For a second. Then you have one that has gone so far down the path of booze and gambling, I am shocked, completely shocked that she has not ended up dead in some opium den or found herself chained up in some lord's person slave stable. After their defeat by Hanzo the only one to recover was Jiraiya and we both know how hard he had to fight down that path. Tell Hokage-sama that you were not thinking of repeating history. Again. The 3 men sat and watched each other, waiting. Chief just went back to reading as Kakashi thought of the words. The only time the Rookie of the Year, smartest Kunoichi, and the dead last team ever worked was with Guy's team and he needs some help with Niji before that history repeats. Kakashi spoke. He remembered how his team with Minato went. I can handle the Hyugas, Chief replied not looking up. Are you ever going to? Hiruzen started. When you kill that corrupted snake and not before. And you must be the one to do it, your hand no one else's. You need to resume training. Chief finished as he stood to leave. Where is Chief Kuzai? The Hokage asked. Going to see Danzo? You can't. I can't kill him. Yet, the chief again interrupted. This is true Hokage-sama, but I can go say hello. Mai slipped into the compound to be met by Tsume. You almost got in, the clan leader smiled, and Mai just winked. The two walked past a group of Inuzukas that were sitting outside by a fire talking, and then past a building that Mai could tell the sleeping kids were. The next building houses Anko Yugao, Kurenai and Choji and Shikamaru mothers. Welcome back Mai, Choji's mother called. Thank you, have you been talking about me? She smiled at the room-wide blush as she found a futon and laid down. You want to know what happened to them? Anko and Kurenai nodded, the girls won't tell us. They are not allowed to tell Mai replied. After my rescue, they vanished, for 5 years he searched, then he found them. Simply put. They were skinned. And I found my lost smile. It was 1 in the morning and Danzo was worried, he had just gotten the report on the training camp. Seems Kuzai had not lost a step in his banishment. In fact he seemed even stronger. Walking the halls of Rude as he thought about what he learned, I never thought he would be back. Every plan I have is in trouble. Wonder if he knows about the plans I used during his absence. He walked through a door to his office lab, to be met by a fist. Danzo hit the ground, he had not even detected the attacker. He was better than that, stronger, more trained, no one could sneak up on. Hello chief, he spoke as he stood up, I am not dead, so I take it you wish to talk. Me talk you listen, chief replied as he stood arms crossed. No, not here to kill you yet. And I mean yet, I know you have plans in case of your death. I also know you set up the Icha. Here Danzo froze, that was a secret he did not think anyone knew. I am coming for you, I am going to kill every root agent you have then after all your backup plans are obsolete, I will break my record with how long I take to skin a human. And if you think that arm will save you from me. Well unwrap it, let's test that. Danzo did not move, he waited and watched. You are nothing but an old tired warhawk, you want war not for the good of the village, you just want the respect you had. That war is over we won, but you feel no joy, you did not want to win you wanted it to go on and on and on. Only then could you feel useful, you want the glory to never end, the glory of a battle won. Chief turned to leave. You will never feel that glory again, you are a traitor to the village and in time that is all anyone will see or talk about when they speak your name. To say Danzo was pissed would be an understatement, a traitor. Him. Never, though he did not even try to argue the rest of what he was told. Naruto started to wake, sore but not tired as he moved around the room he and the others had been placed in. He had asked why Hinata was placed with the boys. She will be on missions where privacy will be non-existent, this will help her, and you all adapt faster. Kiba's mother smiled. Speaking of Hinata Naruto just smiled and looked where her bedding had been put, she was gone. Checking his watch, he found it barely 3 in the morning, no way she had recovered from yesterday's hell. He meant training. Shino? Naruto spoke quietly. Yes. The boy woke without even a budget. Hinata is missing, did you remember to tag her? Yes, he replied as he sat up smoothly. Choji and Shika also woke up and sat up, Kiba. Akamaru, ear. Naruto whispered. Kiba woke when the dog bit his ear only to have Choji's hand over his mouth. Hinata is gone, Choji whispered. The dog boy just nodded and sniffed around. Hinata is about 90 meters that way, Shino pointed out. She has an elevated heart rate, but no signs of fear or stress. The boys looked at the bugmaster, brows raised. Abiram just adjusted his glasses as he stared at them. I have been working on the normal Abiram tracking using the female Kakachu. Along with the location, the female sends back information that tells vitals, heart rate, stress levels, even if they are awake or asleep. You, Shika smiled. Have been holding out on us. Hinata first, then we dealt with Shino. Naruto broke up the Q&A. Naruto, Shino and Shika led with Kiba and Choji following eyes open. The walk was quick, Kiba had mentioned a large lake where his family learned water tracking and other things. The 3 in the lead turned around a tree and stopped. She was graceful, moving in a dance across the top of the water almost in a trance. Shino and Shika recovered first and just pulled Naruto back behind the tree and led the group back to the compound. Naturally, Kiba and Choji, who had not seen anything, were confused and so stayed quiet. Shika, Naruto started slowly. We just saw Hinata dancing on top of the water. Yes, using a form we had never seen before. Yes, and the only thing she was wearing was the moonlight. Yes, but I am not dead, I need a distraction. Naruto finished. Why were you so worried? Shino started to ask. You haven't told her how much danger she is in, have you? Choji asked. I haven't told Hinata, the chief, I haven't even told Jiji, things have been happening fast the last few days. Crap, Hinata is still, Naruto turned to return to the lake. I have seeded the area, Shino interrupted as Choji grabbed the blonde. We will be well informed if anything or anyone goes near. Akamaru guard, Kiba called to his partner and the puppy was off like a bullet. Thanks, guys, Naruto smiled and blushed. Shikamaru had been silent, he crouched down and started his thinking. Problem Shika? Choji asked, still holding Naruto. Just thinking about yesterday, where those dead bodies came from, how many of the class will return today, and how are we all awake, no way we could have recovered from yesterday with just a few hours sleep. Nara was trying to solve the problem. My colony informed me that the food Tsuchi-sama fed us at lunch was more than what it seemed, it was laced with chakra replenishing nutrients, designed to do it at a slow steady rate, most would not even notice. Shino answered. As for the other things, Kiba started. We will know how many return in a few hours, and I don't think we want to know where he got the bodies, they looked way too fresh for me to want that answer. Are you good? Choji asked the blonde who had finally stopped trying to break free. Till I can tell Hinata, Chief and the Hokage, I doubt I will be good, but you can let me go now. Tell me what? The boys all jumped spinning to face the man, none of them sensed the man as he just popped up behind them. Then Naruto spun back around kunai in hand, the tip was a millimeter from Kurenai's face when Anko slipped a finger into the hole and pulled it safely from Blonde's hand. This shocked most as they either did not sense the women, boys, or did not expect to be sensed, Kurenai. Oh, sorry I am a little on edge, Naruto blushed and rubbed the back of his head. We noticed. Tell me what? Chief replied. Shino simply started giving a blunt report about waking and finding Hinata missing, then finding her. All the while avoiding Naruto's attempts to kick his shins. Then Shika took over. Naruto learned in the last few days that a few of the main branch Hyugas, though not her father, had plans to kidnap, brand and sell Hinata legally, as in a betrothal. All they needed was for her to fail and shame the clan. Now that it is clear she is open friends with Naruto, we expect them to try and use this to finish the deal. I think her father knows and that is why he handed her off to you, Naruto added as he looked at Kurenai. It is an amazing coincidence that they came up with that evil plan and next thing they knew you were her guardian. Kurenai was speechless. First she learns the girl she openly admits she sees as a daughter has her clan trying to sell her off, then she learns that wide-eyed bastard might actually care for the girl. Chief was silent as he looked in the direction of the lake, Mai who had slipped up quietly along with Tsume and Choji's mother, who Naruto learned her name was Kai Kai. All the women there were beyond pissed. Well that won't happen, Tsume growled as she and Chichi crossed their arms looking almost demon-possessed. You cannot interfere with clan actions, Shika responded. Watch us, all the women spoke at once. And everyone here will take a hit from being allied with Naruto. Shikamaru continued. Even the Hokage is talked badly about simply because he favors the boy and Iruka-sensei has been basically ignored. Kiba spoke for the first time forgetting his mother is there, in other words strong voice no fear. And I know, Choji continued. That half the village boycotts Ichiraku simply because they serve him. Does it look like I care about their options? Tsume argued back with a growl. Shino froze and looked to the entrance to the compound, Naruto quickly followed his line of sight. Where he saw that Shika's father, as well as his own parents, with Choji's father, had just arrived. The yipping was heard, and all knew it was the puppy's way of both greeting Hinata and warning everyone. Vanish, Naruto spoke as he just stood waiting to greet the girl. Without a word, though, Kurenai looked ready to protest. Till Tsume just grabbed her. The group disappeared, and Naruto waited. Soon the little white puppy was seen as he yipped and emerged from the trail soon followed by a somewhat blushing Hinata, wearing just a long bathrobe holding it tightly closed. They did not have to hide, I know I was spotted. She whispered out, but finding some courage. How so? Naruto asked not to deny the situation. Akamaru would not leave Kiba without telling him first, the moment I saw him I used my sight to look and saw you talking with everyone. Naruto blushed and rubbed the back of his head, sorry. Let me get dressed, then you can tell me what is wrong, she spoke as she looked up finally into his eyes. The talk lasted a few hours as they went over everything, Hinata got quiet, she held Naruto's arm on one side and Kurenai's on the other, several of the women were growling and agreeing with Tsume about going to deal with them now. Clan politics are very difficult, Shino again warned. And the Hyugas are the most powerful clan, they practically run the council. I don't care, Tsume started to get fired up. As a very pact-oriented clan, the idea that Hinata's own clan would try to sell her off fired up the older woman to the point Yugao was having to hold her down. Arrogant, self-centered, traitor-ish. Wide-eyed bastards, Anko finished. She had been pacing back and forth growling and hissing till the large Chichi pulled her down to sit on the Akimichi lap. And why the hell are you smiling? Anko shouted as she looked up into a tree branch where Mai sat swinging her legs back and forth, grinning like a cat. I know something you don't know. A secret, she smiled. The seconds dropped by slowly. Well. Are you going to tell us? Anko hissed out. Then it wouldn't be a secret. That's it, Anko broke free of Chichi and leaped tackling Mai off the tree branch. Boo off. How the? Anko asked as she found herself on the ground laying on her back, Mai straddling her as she placed her hands on each side of the snake summoner's head, looking down with an angelically evil smile. Anko hissed again and rolled trying to gain the upper hand, it did not work as she was again pinned. No one spoke as the mute assassin just smiled and refused to let Anko up. You're right, Naruto, Chief spoke for the first time in a while. You should have told me, but I had been pushing this training camp and dealing with 100 other things. I did not give you the time, I will be dealing with them very soon. Mai led her up close to 8 times to head to the training ground. Mai smiled, got up and helped Anko to her feet. Thought we started at 10? Shika asked calmly. Gucci should have breakfast. Chief spoke and most of the group, Anko and Kurenai included, stood to leave. Those that did not have the lunch watched. Soon cleared her throat angrily. You never move that fast when I say I am cooking. The group stopped and looked back at the group, not sure how to respond. Gucci has Kushina's cookbook and the chief simply spoke. That did it. Everyone else got up and were ready to join the charge to breakfast. If you want breakfast you join for the day's training. All 12 hours. Chief informed and waited. About 3 seconds. Let us just get our. Kai started when Mai just walked up with a couple bags in her hands. You snuck into our homes and found our training gear? Choza asked, almost smirking. Mai just smiled and nodded, then tossed the bags. Let's go food. The group with Naruto and his friends left with Anko, Yugao and Kurenai. The rest held back. When everyone was waiting, Shikamaru's mother Yoshino, a Chunin in her time, started walking with the group next to her husband, and when I say walking I mean moving quickly through trees and rooftops. Goromaru just ran along the ground with the triplets, as Hana quickly joined the group leaving. I think we were set up. I think he wanted all the parents to come to this day's training. She spoke out loud, growling at the fact that she was the one bossed around for once. That is his style, Sum replied. He likes to mess with everyone and keep them all on their toes. I wonder if Hiashi will come to represent Niji. Oh, shit. And as she spoke that everyone stopped. Chief doesn't expect her to come, does he? Kai asked, realizing what Alpha was thinking. Crap, we got to move. Kai stepped on it. Sum cried as she moved faster, everyone following close behind. The Aburams were at the back just watching, as is the clan's style. When Shibi's wife, who had shocked everyone as she was keeping up, they did not know if she had training, moves and climbs on her husband's back. Shibi. What do I not know? She asked. It is complicated and a long story. Niji prepared himself and walked out the door of his living quarters, where he was met by his uncle, who was in fact dressed in his combat gear. Chief has ordered that the parents of whichever kids return today to come as well. I will be coming to represent you today. The stoic man spoke as he turned to let out of the compound. As he did he watched Niji and he was not disappointed. The boy hesitated and looked over his shoulder at a small hut on the far edge of the compound. Clearing his throat, Niji quickly moved forward and went ahead of his uncle, who in fact had stopped and also looked back at the lone hut. He will not like this. Sakura and Ino woke up at the same time. The night before they basically passed out in their mother's arms as they walked home. Looking around they found themselves in Ino's room. The old camp bed that Sakura used to use was there, but like the old days when Sakura would sleep over, the two girls ended up in Ino's bed. The old days, sleepovers and playdates, sisters in all but blood. Then Sasuke came into their picture. And they got stupid. Slowly getting up, neither girl spoke as they went to shower. Having shared showers before this did not even faze them as they washed and treated each other's cuts and bruises. By the gods, they had been tortured the day before. Walking into the kitchen they were met by their mothers. Breakfast is being offered to any student that returns today, otherwise we can make you something. Ino's mom spoke in her relaxed yet regal tone. Both girls wanted to never see that training ground or those instructors again, to run and hide and pretend it was all just a dream, a very bad dream. As one, the two girls took a step, then another, and another as they headed out the door and out of the Yamanaka compound, heading for the training ground. The two mothers just stood and walked out the back to a storage shed. Opening the door they found their husbands sitting on the floor where they had slept. As a father, Ino's mother started speaking that angry regal tone her husband learned to fear. You are supposed to spoil and cater to and baby your daughter, it is tradition, it is normal, my father did it all the time. However, as a shinobi you are supposed to make sure your daughter, who wished to also be a kunoichi, was trained correctly. And if you had trouble you were to send her to her mother like my father did with me. I asked you repeatedly how Ino's training was going and you told me good and that I would be proud. What I saw yesterday was not good and I was not proud. She was not ready and she was tortured because we, both of us, failed our daughter. Remember the gauntlet run he did during our Chunin exam, the one that had a 36% death rate. What he did to them wasn't even a tenth as bad as that, and it almost killed our daughter. Never lie to me again. She finished as Sakura's mother just looked at her husband. Do I need to add anything? She asked. No dear, we failed. We can start working on the mistakes. Sakura's father started. They went back, both women spoke as one, shocked their husbands. The chief is having a parents' day. We will be joining her in that hellhole today. So? Let me get this straight, Shino's mother started as she ate and watched the kids eat. Hiashi Hyuga and his brother Hisashi, who were twins, married a set of twin sisters, one being Hinata's mother and the other being Niji's mother. Yes, her husband replied. A set of twin brothers married a set of twin sisters. Yes, I thought that only happened in bad stories or good stories that end up using tired old plot lines. Or somewhere in between, she finished and started chuckling. That is actually the funniest thing I have ever heard come out of the Hyuga clan. I did not think they had that kind of sense of humor. Or any sense of humor for that matter. Dear, you did understand the rest of what I told you? Shibi asked calmly as he watched Hino and Sakura walk into the clearing, clearly shocking a few as it was not for sure they would return. Yes, dear, but I think our son is paying close attention to us at the moment. Shibi took his eyes off the girls as they loaded their plates with food to look over at Shino and his friends. Sure enough, the boy was clearly watching. Just then a growl was heard, Tsume was looking for a fight, and the adults all looked. Niji walked into the clearing, Hiashi right behind him. And no one else. Hiashi felt the eyes and knew something was up, he had been marked. Shortly after Guy and his team, Lee had waved at Naruto and the group and he and Tenten dragged a protesting Niji over to join the group. Niji got a very cold greeting, only Shino offered a verbal greeting that was cold as ice. Last to arrive was Sasuke, but he wasn't alone, the Hokage was with him. The boy did not even acknowledge anyone as he grabbed his food and the old man just walked over to Naruto and his friends. "How are you kids this morning?" he asked with his grandfather's smile. "Bajiji. So here to represent Sasuke as his guardian." Naruto smiled knowing as orphans he and Sasuke were both under the Hokage's guardianship. "And yours as well," the old man smiled. "Seeing as my godfather isn't here." Naruto replied coldly and Hiruzen's face fell. "Didn't think I would learn about that yet?" Naruto asked. "Strangely enough my file says I have a godfather, but there is no name. I asked the chief and he said you had to tell me something about paying a price." The old man sighed again and the chief was really digging the screws. "My student Jiraiya the Hokage just answered. The supper pervert?" Naruto asked, shocked. Then he smiled again. "That's why the chief wants me to improve the sexy jutsu." And the blonde laughed. The other boys laughed hearing that and Hinata just chuckled. Lee and Tenten looked confused as they learned more about their new friends. "Dear Yuara Hokage-sama," AM said as she walked up with a plate of food. Soon two ANBU came out of hiding and the Hokage just removed his robes and hat, showing his battle armor was underneath. Giving them to the guards as he took the food. "It has been a while since I ran a gauntlet," and he started eating with the kids. With about half an hour left before the start, Naruto and his group started their stretching. This time no one laughed or scoffed. Ino and Sakura stretched together as the adults had started as well. Niji, who had moved back, started going through his alongside Hiashi. The instructors were not idle, and Anko was going through her gear picking her canes and looking around. She spotted Ino and Sakura and as she caught their eye just smiled and licked her lips. After they shuddered the snake summoner just looked around more stopping to stare at the parents and adults she got to play with. Then her eyes landed on Hiashi. "My new bitch," Anko hissed a smile. "No, don't think so," Yuga replied and when Anko looked at her. "Follow Hiashi's eyes." Anko looked and noticed the clan head was staring at something as she tracked she found the chief. He just stood there quietly holding his cane with both hands as one would a walking cane. All the instructors other than Mai and Chief vanished. Mai drew a long starting line in the dirt. Niji could feel the air and noticed how the chief had not moved his eyes from his uncle. "What is wrong, uncle?" "It seems I have been picked as the chief's training dummy today," Hiashi replied, seeing the confused look. "He picks a victim every day at random and then proceeds to beat that victim all day long. And that's a long day," Tsume added, accenting the long, as she walked past them. When the two Hyugas looked up she just licked her finger suggestively, then showed Hiashi her middle. The group and dogs lined up, with Mai at the lead holding a watch. Chief simply walked to stand beside Hiashi. The second ticked by till at last Mai waved her hand. "Run," was all Chief said as he brought the cane down on Hiashi's thigh as hard as he could. No one had heard Hiashi Hyuga scream that loud in over 10 years. Chapter 7. Jiraiya sat looking over his notes the last week insane, and he was still trying to work through what he was learning, thinking back to see a pattern he was missing something. Jiraiya was pissed and ashamed that he had lost Orochimaru, and the snake had vanished. First a toad sage had tracked him to a group called Akatsuki, a mercenary group that now houses several S-class missing ninjas. A very dangerous situation. Then he learned that the snake had left that group and went. That was the problem, he vanished. Never before had Jiraiya's spy network lost someone so quickly. He started thinking when a blue toad arrived and opened his tongue handing the sage a note shaking his head and muttering again. Jiraiya moved quickly, he was only a town over as it was slipping through the woods and he found the warehouse quickly. Slipping in, he disabled the two guards quickly and found a room that was full of cages. The good news, it was almost empty, there was only one person there. The bad news was the person was a young blonde large-chested woman unconscious in a cage smelling of booze. Jiraiya did not hesitate as he quickly freed her, as powerful as she could be. The path of booze and cards was a path of pure self-destruction, and no one could resist opium-laced sake, not even the slug princess. Performing a quick check showed that nothing had happened yet, but Tsunade was out cold, and he had to pick her up and carry her on his shoulder. "Well, where do you think you're going with my property?" A wheezy weak voice trying to sound important called out. Jiraiya didn't even blink, his hands flashed as he walked out the door as the walls of the warehouse changed into the stomach of the great fire toad off. The scream was muffled, and Jiraiya knew those men would take weeks to die and feel every second. Moving quickly with the woman on his shoulder, he headed for the hotel he knew Shizune was at, waiting. He was not disappointed as she quickly opened the window and he carried the blonde in and laid her on the bed. "Same rules, she does not know, she will wake up thinking she just had a hangover," Jiraiya spoke as he headed back out the window. "Why? Why don't you want her to know?" the young lady asked. He had been watching out for both ever since Tsunade first left. This was not the first time something like this happened, and unless something drastic changed for her mistress, it would not be the last. "She will feel indebted to me. When I get my date with her, it will be because she wants to, not because she feels she has to." And he was out the window and gone. Finding a tree, he sat high above the ground and distracted himself by again going over his notes on his former teaming. The sun in the morning and Jiraiya was tempted to get some sleep. Then he got a letter from Chief, arrived by a monkey summons. The toad sage had forgotten that the 10-year banishment was about to end. The file that came with it gave very detailed information about the Sandai and about his godson. The sage was not happy, anger at the village and shame at himself did battle for the sage's emotions. At the bottom of the letter distracted the sage. "Find out who leader of Atagakure before you return." Then the letter detailed the chief's plan. Now back in the present, Jiraiya looked at his watch as the sun continued to rise. If the plan went through, he should be starting the second day of hell right now. As the clock hit 10, a massive pain shot through his shoulder, a pain or a memory of a pain he had not felt in years. All Jiraiya could say was 2 words: training dummy. Tsunade woke with a groan and a killer migraine. Shizune looked to her mistress with mild worry, not like a few days ago when she woke up. Shizune looked downright scared. The migraine returned and ended any thought as she stood. "I need a shower," she growled and started for the bath. Her eye caught the clock for a second, and that second it turned 10. A pain ran across her lower back, so painful it put the sand to her knees with a scream. Shizune came running with the pig at her heels. Before she could ask, her mistress just stood up. "What happened to Lady Tsunade?" "Just a memory, a shadow of the one day I was." She shook her head trying to get that memory away. "Of the day I was a training dummy." The scream set the tone of the day. Naruto started his group moving. Choji set a faster pace, but not too much. "He will run us harder and nastier than yesterday," Naruto ordered, and Choji nodded and set the pace. "It is a safe bet the attacks will come harder as well," Shika spoke and Shino nodded. "Yes, there are far less victims for them to choose from, and unlike the rest of the class we return, there is no doubt they will push harder to break us. And with our parents here, I think he will be even more sadistic just to test them." Kiba finished. The prediction turned out to be more than accurate. The viciousness of Chief's attack on Hiashi inspired Anko. She wanted to make someone scream louder. Naturally, her first targets were Ino and Sakura. Before they were halfway around the lake, they were bleeding from thighs, shoulders and calves. Anko went after all the soft spots. Well, most of them. But those two were not the only ones. Anko and Yugao both targeted the parents, paying close attention to Ino and Sakura's, but everyone was bleeding by the end of the first lap, even Hinata. The group was focused on the task, but the boys figured it would be Anko looking for the prize she was denied the day before. Crack. Hinata cried out but kept moving as she held her head, and the boy saw Yugao. "You got too focused on one threat, we are all here for one job." She vanished with that. The start of the second lap had Nigi and Sasuke in the lead. The Hyuga had dashed forward before Guy could reel him back, and soon he and the Uchiha were in a race, seeing as they were both rookies of the year. To the point they forgot about the gauntlet. Crack 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 crack. 5 of the instructors at once attacked, and when they were done, the 2 prodigies geniuses were bloody beaten and on the ground. The Hokage watched as he ran. At first the instructors were hesitant to attack him, he was after all the Hokage. That was till they spotted the chief appear out of nowhere and give the old man a new scar. Hiruzen just took the hit and started to run harder. He knew his soon-to-be battle with his student would be fast and brutal. He guessed Orochimaru would try and rush him. A man his age would not have the speed or chakra management to keep up with the younger snake. So he would get more speed to remove that advantage the snake had. The Ashi was in hell here, and as hard as he could maintain, well, as fast as he could with his leg, he would swear was broken from that first shot. Chief would just come from nowhere and hit every soft spot his armor did not cover over and over, and the Hyuga just could not see or track him. Soon was right, it was going to be a long day. Then he felt it and screamed again. Chief had come up behind and just brought his foot up between the man's legs. Chief had a few rules. One was if it puts them down, use it, and kicking a guy in the balls always puts them down. Damn those boots again, Hiashi thought as he felt the hidden metal. He held himself and just vomited on the ground before forcing himself up. Good thing as the cane came down and left a small crater in the ground right where the man had been kneeling. Stop playing with yourself and run, boy, Chief called as he walked behind the hobbling Hiashi who still held himself. Tsume growled as Kurenai tagged her again, this time causing a little trickle of blood, all was forgotten as she heard Hiashi scream out again. She knew that kind of scream and looked back and smiled as the arrogant clan head hobbled while holding himself. Worth it. The ninja dogs were also getting a workout, the massive Kuramaru was doing the best as he leaped, ducked, and dodged every attack. So far only Dog and Mai had been able to land a hit. The triplets weren't so lucky. You three got lazy, the large dog spoke as the three whined at the pain. The run continued, they realized it would be harder as the third lap finished, and they just started a fourth. Ino and Sakura were just carrying each other as they walked, even Anko was either tired or starting to show signs of mercy, though no one risked asking her which. The only one who did not seem tired was Chief. Hiashi had hit the ground, and the man just grabbed the clan head by the hair and pulled him to his feet and forced him to walk. One hand holding him up. Finally, the call was shouted as the group seemed to finish the last lap altogether. Evan Lee was tired, and at the end everyone was on a knee or laying on the ground, except Naruto, who was leaned forward hands on his knees, but still up. Equipment check, empty your gear in front of your circle, Chief ordered and pointed at the large purple circles that just showed up again. No one spoke as they obeyed, pulling out their weapons and other gear. Naruto and Tenten pulled out scrolls they had stored their gear in. You buy those? Kiba asked. Made them? Had clones. Working on them. All yesterday and last night, the blonde replied. You been doing seals? Tenten asked. How long? Yesterday morning, Naruto replied. How? She started to ask. Long story. Tell you at. For lunch, Shikamaru panted as he finished and laid on his back. So? What do you do? Hey, that is my dad, Tenten called as she spotted a new body. The boys looked and spotted a man not much taller but very stout. He walked by looking at the tools with an eye that screamed weaponsmith. He was sitting and watching the whole time, and Shino informed her. How did he get to sit and watch? Kiba asked as he started to stand. He did not eat the food, the Hokage replied as he moved near the boys. Chief's rule is that if you want the food, you have to earn it. Speaking of food, have you noticed in the 20 minutes we have been stopped our energy is returning quickly? Shino asked as he looked around, almost everyone was back to their feet, even Ino and Sakura were back to their knees. How are you feeling about Naruto? Kiba asked. The blonde just did a backflip and gave that smile. Hinata was quiet, she was watching her father, true he had been mean to her. Even cruel, but what Chief had been doing was making the generally kind girl feel sorrow and concern for her father. Plus, Naruto mentioned he was not part of the plan. The Chief's actions are fueled by a personal matter, Hokage spoke while watching the girl. A matter you will understand soon enough. What is this? Tenten's father asked as he stopped and looked at the equipment in front of the blonde. Where did you get this crap? Naruto just looked at the man as he picked up a kunai, which I bought from Ken-san, for 700 yen. Most of it I had to scavenge cause no one would sell to me. The smith just tossed the kunai away, and you did not come to my store. Why? You were the most expensive smith in town, and I was told you did not sell to students. Naruto replied. Who told you that? Tenten asked if someone would speak of her father or his shop like that. Mizuki, it wasn't till the last few days I learned how he set me up and I have not had time to resupply. You will come by my shop tonight and I will supply you correctly. We won't be getting out of here till late, Naruto spoke. When you are done here tonight you will come see me. It will not be free of charge mind you, but at a fair price. The smith spoke till Tsume interrupted. No way Jen, charge him full price and put it on the Hokage's bill, she shouted and when Hiruzen looked at her. Your damn law kept our families from befriending the boy sooner and better, we could have prevented that shit and Jen, my hunter team now buys only from you. That was a good deal, Tsume was one of the lead hunter nin captains. Some of the other adults nodded and Jen smiled. It seemed the chief was right, it would be worth his time closing the shop for this. Hey, can you do custom orders? Anko cried out with that wicked grin on her face. I made a Bicky's trunk and everything in it, was all the smith replied. Anko's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas. A very sick twisted Christmas. When can I get it? Finished with the inspection. Chief called out, pulling everyone back to the situation. Good. Full counts begin. Everyone groaned as they started. How soon Tucci? Chief called out. You will know when you hear the bell, he replied with a chuckle from his cooking area. Over and over they went up and down, when someone slowed the cane motivated them to speed back up, the instructors just walked through the rows striking a person hard, no one could tell who was hit harder by Chief, Hiashi or Naruto. Hinata. Could I ask? About. Last night. Naruto asked after what felt like hours. Oh. That. It is. Hard to. Explain. She replied. "Stop," Chief called out, "line up for sparring." As the group moved to the new large purple circle, Hinata stood with her friends. "When I was very young, I think, my mother took me out one night to her private pond. She called it the gentle dance of the moonlight. I watched her for hours. She promised to teach me," Hinata told them as she looked to the past. "I had forgotten it till last night. I was having a dream about it, worked up and moved on my own to that lake. It was like I was in a trance." "Lee, you first," Chief called. The group watched as Lee cheered, then the spar began. Lee was fast as he moved and almost no one could see him half the time. Chief was faster, he did not dodge, he just blocked and countered. Lee only stopped as he was put on the ground over and over. Niji was watching, he scuffed to himself as he watched. He thought of all the ways he could end the fight, having beaten Lee repeatedly. Then a thought entered his mind. Your Byakugan was useless with the chief, he asked what he could do without it and realized he had become reliant on it. His family's greatest weapon had become their crutch. He paid a hell of a lot more attention to Lee and the chief. Sasuke was watching, Lee was fast, and Chief looked to be able to block and counter everything. That loser can't land a single shot. When I get my Sharingan I will surpass them all. Lee was knocked back hard but just leaped to his feet, so overcome in joy of the spar he made a really stupid mistake. "First gate." "Lee, no." Guy shouted, but it was too late. "Oh." He couldn't finish as Chief moved faster than anyone had ever seen, pushed Lee's arm to the side and slammed his fist into the boy's chest, ending whatever he planned, forcing the boy to pass out. Chief, while holding the boy, lifted his right root and kicked out to his side, where his foot found the jaw of Guy, who had been rushing to his student's side. The green beast hit the ground as Chief carried Lee to where the Hinata and Tenten and the boys were and left him. "Okay," Naruto started. "That. What was that?" Tenten started to explain that the gates in the Hokage filled in a few gaps. "But. He closed the gate," Hinata replied. "Is that? How normal is that?" "You can do it," Hiruzen replied. "It takes cage level chakra reserves and control." "Cage level?" Naruto asked. "Yes, cage level. If it wasn't for the fact he would kill me for thinking it, I would try to hand the title off Hokage to him. That would be dangerous." Asuma spoke as he stepped closer, remembering what happened when he proctored that one Chunin exam, or that year he worked at the academy. The old man just growled and nodded as the chief woke up the knocked out Guy. "Fool, you're next." Chief shouted as he stood waiting for Guy to stand. This fight was faster, where before Naruto had watched Chief evaluate and work with Lee, this time Chief just beat Jonin. "Your father warned you about the gates. Teaching them to the boy who would use them in a spar is reckless," and Chief stopped and used a heavy axe kick to put Guy's head into the ground. "We will be talking about this later, Niji." The young genin walked forward not sure what to do. He had just watched his sensei, the Taijutsu master, get beat without even landing a hit, and through all this time, he never saw the chief show any sign of fatigue. He wasn't even breathing hard. The match did not last long without the Byakugan. The Hyuga could not even get close. His Jaiken was empty without being able to see the targets. Niji was kicked from the circle easily. Tiba. The boy did better, he was quick and good at hand-to-hand, but he did not have the experience to back it up. Choji was next. Here Chief changed. He went to a different form that turned out to be a lot like the Akimichi, a lot of power and little skill. Choji was pushed from the circle quickly. Soon, the woman came hard and fast and used every skill she had. And lost quickly, though she was smiling at the end. "Shino," Chief called, and when the boy entered the circle. "You can shut that off now, Chief." Shino replied, confused. Shibi was also confused. "So, you can't control it. You don't even know, do you?" Chief asked. "Okay, quick lesson. Aburam are the best at spying and infiltration, only Jiraiya surpasses them, and he learned a version of the Aburam cloak." Chief started. Everyone listened. "Your allies emit pheromones that actually block senses. They mask you, shield you, make you invisible to the naked eye." Shino nodded. "Maybe this is why people tend to forget he is there, at least he wasn't being ignored, they really couldn't see him. Your file shows that you like it, your father tends to stay back and watch. Which is a characteristic of your clan. My guess is your allies sensed this and activated the cloak to help you. Your father should be able to help you learn to turn it off." Shino nodded and took a stance. His taijutsu was different than the academy style that he normally used. It actually took Chief a second to recognize it. It took Shibi half a second before he looked at his wife. "When did you teach him your style?" he asked his wife, who just smiled. "When you weren't looking," her grin, and when his eyebrow rose above his glasses she replied by sticking her tongue out at him before. "Shino, I saw 6 holes you missed," she called as Shino was standing up and heading back to the group. The boy just nodded to his mother and stood by Shika. "How many secrets are you keeping?" Shika asked his friend. "How many are you?" Shino replied, and the young Nara just nodded. And so, he went down the line. Adults and kids in no order. When fighting a student or member of Team 9, Chief was mostly defensive, did not stop him from ending the bouts with Ino and Sakura in less than a minute, and that was with adding the times for each girl together. Less than a minute total. As he faced the adults, he pushed. They gave a rather decent showing, and Naruto learned a few things. 1. Shino's mother's name was Midorando Mitsubachi, Sume called her Meme, the rest of the adults called her Midori. 2. Chief was just as hard on Sakura and Ino mothers as he was on the girls, combined they lasted 6 minutes. Chika, he called, and here the younger ones questioned, they did not know Chika. Till Choji's mom Kai Kai stepped forward. I thought her name was Kai Kai, Ino questioned louder than she thought. Takechioko Akimichi, the large woman spoke as she stepped forward, but that won't change anything, I am still Mama Kai Kai to you Ino. Ino blushed and ducked her head, yes Mama Kai Kai. Kichi was wearing a sleeveless shirt and a pair of dark brown leggings and was tying what looked like a mawashi. She stepped into the circle and set her feet waiting, Chief looked at her and got into his own stance. Began, the Hokage called and Kai Kai charged and pushed Chief back 3 inches, so far no one had moved him back yet. Then started a fast contest of hands trying to gain leverage on each other. Kai Kai kept trying to pick and throw after her momentum to try and push him from the ring ended. Chief would either outpower her lift or use another means to break her hold, kick to the shin, slap to her side. Even a headbutt, which gave her a cut on her eye. For 10 minutes they grappled back and forth. Ino's mother, was clapping while Tsume and Choji cheered loudly for the woman. Even though Choza was giving out encouragement, till Chief got under her arms finally and pulled using a hip throw to put the big woman down on the ground out of the ring. It was the closest anyone had gotten to beating the Chief, Choza didn't even do that well. Hinata, Chief, called as he helped Kai Kai up. The young girl was scared as she stepped forward, for once neither her father nor her cousin scoffed at her timidness, Niji had his ass handed to him in his spar and Hiashi. Still hurt. Easy Hinata, he is not out to hurt you, he is testing us to see what we can do and what we need to work on. Naruto whispered to her. She just nodded and went to the ring, she did not activate her eyes, but took her standard Jaiken stance. Chief just looked at her. It wasn't a cold stare. Hinata felt like he was waiting for something. Hinata attacked and Chief started a strange bouncing dance going side to side. Every time she attacked he just dodged and slapped her hands away, he moved in a way that as time went by Hinata would get tangled in her own feet. What is he doing, Hiashi asked himself. He is acting like. No, she can't. Some were getting tired of watching the Chief play with a girl, it was the first time he acted this way. One person was getting mad, Shino and Shika spotted the shaking of the blonde who stood between them. Both boys looked at each other after staring at their friend and both held up fingers counting down, 3, 2, 1. Hinata dances with the moon. Naruto called out not knowing just how powerful that one sentence was. The group as one looked at him, then the adults looked back at the girl, the kids however, stared at the blonde, Ino and Sakura shouted things calling what he said a stupid distraction. Not speaking, but both Niji and Sasuke agreed with the girls. Hiashi was wide-eyed and pale as he watched his daughter, not saying a word she changed her stance from the solid footing of her clan style to up on her toes. Let's dance, was all Chief said. Hinata charged. She flew and attacked staying on her toes she attacked and spun around on the tip of her toes to avoid the counter. Those watching had never seen anything so graceful and those that could see it or knew that style so deadly. Tsume was grinning evilly as everyone watched Hinata push and challenge the Chief, he was still holding back as she walked up beside Hiashi who was deathly pale. Seems she inherited her mother's kindness, her gentleness, and it seems her fighting style, the woman whispered. Yes, the man whispered more to himself than to her. Hinata was pushed back but she stayed on her feet in the circle. When she looked back up at the Chief she had a fire in her eyes no one had seen before. So powerful her Byakugan activated no hand signs or words. But she lost, Hiashi spoke out. What? Naruto growled, he was getting pissed how that man could just disregard his daughter so much. Chief Hiashi started realizing how it sounded for once. Has a special skill that makes the Byakugan useless. He looked at the boy. Once our eyes are activated he vanishes. Really? Shibi asked in a surprised and almost humorous tone. Yes, Hiashi replied and turned to face the man on his other side. He stopped and looked back at the spar. Hinata was still going and getting closer and closer. Then she landed a finger on the Chief's hand, he actually winced and shook his hand, reopening the Tenketsu point in his palm just as fast as she closed it. Hiashi stuttered, she can see him. And he activated his eyes to make sure. Sure enough, the moment he did the Chief vanished and it looked as if Hinata was fighting air. And it seems her mother's eyes. Tsume finished and walked away. Hinata again attacked and as Chief went to block, she shifted catching him off guard as she pivoted and brought her foot around in a roundhouse kick to the side of his head. Chief hit the ground, his glasses falling off. He got on his knees and grabbed his glasses and replaced them before anyone could see his eyes, but he did reach and touch the spot where she kicked him. Pulling his fingers back he saw the red of his blood. Getting to his feet he grabbed the clasp that kept his coat fastened on, finally in a real fight, he growled as he went to remove his coat only to have a hand on his chest. Mai had walked up and stopped him. Confused, the chief looked and found Hinata on her hands and knees panting. She was done. Quickly clipping his coat back together, he walked to the girl and helped her up and over to sit next to Naruto. At that moment only 4 people were left, Naruto, Sasuke, Hiashi and the Hokage. Chief just ignored Sasuke as he had the whole time. The emo boy was starting to get pissed at the lack of attention. Hiashi was pale, and only his training kept him from pissing himself when the chief locked eyes with him for a second. Naruto knew he would not be called, he had been spared just a few days ago, so the chief already had all the information he needed. "Hiruzen," chief called. "I need a fight or I'm going to kill Hiashi." The Hokage just put his helmet on and stepped into a circle and took a stance. Knees bent, one hand back and above his head, the other down, fingers touching the ground. Those who knew the monkey style the Hokage learned when he became their summoner knew this was not a spar. The fight was just that. A fight. The Hokage moved around, rolling, ducking and striking like a monkey. Chief just hit hard and violently. "That's basically a monkey versus a gorilla," Shika spoke as they watched. And he was right, Chief was using a monkey form that looked like an enraged gorilla. The two seemed on par with each other. Time no longer mattered. Ding ding ding, a loud bell rang, and both men stopped panting as Tucci rang the bell for lunch. "That's 2 hours for lunch. The chief called, you better be ready at the water's edge in 2 hours." The group started to move, but Chief charged at Hiashi and decked him hard, holding him by his shirt so he would not fall. He slammed him to a tree. "Where is she?" No one was moving as they watched a normally controlled chief lose all control as he slammed Hiashi again. "Where is Kyoko?" Neji heard that name and charged forward. "What do you want with my mother?" When she and I needed to speak, Chief growled while pinning Hiashi to the tree. "My mother is in mourning seclusion and she will not speak to anyone. She has refused to speak to anyone." That statement told more secrets than any other. Neji's mother hasn't spoken to him since his father died. "We shall see," Chief growled and let the man go and just started walking out of the area. Walking, not vanishing like normal. "Better run. I don't want to miss it." "This," Mai said as she grabbed her plate of food and followed the chief. Soon everyone followed suit. Plates in hand they followed the marching chief as he walked all the way over to the entrance of the Hyuga compound. Even Sasuke joined as he wanted to learn more about the chief. The group followed along, walking behind the angry chief. Well, most did. Anko decided to take her favorite way to travel, on Kurenai's back. The Ashi was walking limp and all right behind the chief along with Neji, and as they approached the entrance to his clan's land, he frantically waved the guards away as the chief just walked right into the center of the courtyard. Taking a deep breath, "Kyoko. Get your skinny ass out here." The chief shouted, causing the entire clan to stop and look at the man, many shocked to see him there. Chief Instructor Kuzai Neji spoke with as much formal authority as he could. "My mother is in seclusion." A screen door opened. "Not speaking," Neji said as he slowly turned to face the door that opened. To anyone, the place went silent as a pale woman with black hair wearing a pure white kimono came walking out of the hut and straight towards the chief, the clan head, and Neji. No one spoke, no one moved as she stopped before the chief and bowed at her waist as far as she could, eyes down. "Welcome home, father." Chapter 8. Amazing how 3 simple words can change the world. War is over, I'm getting married, I am pregnant, and of course, Chief is back. Throughout all of history, the great changes, the earth-shattering changes, the what the hell do I do now changes, always seem to be caused by 3 simple words. Neji had no idea what to think anymore, everything he knew was just thrown out the window, and he found it rather hard to breathe now. "Thank you, daughter, let me see your face." Chief spoke, and as the woman stood up again, Chief just crossed his arms and stared at her. It was the kind of stare that has broken greater men. Many in the compound took a step back, some looked ready to turn tail and run. "Well?" the chief asked with a growl. "Yes, father." Chief's hand shot out so quickly no one even saw it till his arm stopped. An inch from Neji's face, then his thumb slowly lifted the boy's age, showing the seal. "What is this thing doing on my grandson?" Chief asked with a growl. The woman did not answer, neither did Hiashi, both knew this was not going to end pretty. The cage bird seal started an older Hyuga that had walked up with 4 other men. Naruto saw the man that first threatened him, as well as 3 of the men who were part of the plan. He did not hesitate to move between them and Hinata, who was still shocked and blankly staring at the chief and her father, as well as her aunt. His place to ensure that if a Hyuga falls, no enemy can steal the secrets of our clan's Jujutsus. "Bullshit," Naruto whispered. "Then where is yours?" Chief asked calmly. "You're all shinobi of the leaf, at any time you can be sent out on missions, where is your seal?" No one spoke. It seems the Hyuga elder was very stupid because he did not get the warning. Hiashi and Kyoko did though, and actually smiled. "The truth is," the chief continued, "you use this seal on branch members simply because it gives you power over those you think are below you." "So, what?" the oldest elder spoke. "We are not ANBU. You can order us around, Kuzai." Releasing Neji, Chief just walked to the 3 younger elders. You three are still active Jonins, I know this cause you still collect your monthly pay. That is unless you're ready to tell the Hokage that you are stealing from the village and other shinobi. Here he pointed to the group that had followed the chief Hokage standing out in front, arms crossed. You can't make us, one of the younger three started to speak trying to find what courage he had left. We are not ANBU, we don't fall under your command. Nara, chief replied, and the three elders paled. Shikaku Nara, Shikamaru's father and the Jonin commander stepped forward, his normal bored tired lazy face, replaced with something few had ever seen. No, but you are under my command and I have more Jonin-only missions on backlog than I have Jonin squads, and oh look there are three of you. The man spoke eyes hard, his scars seemed to grow in appearance. Best sit down and just shut up. It was not an idle comment, it was a command, and the three did just that, they just sat down in the dirt. Iho Hyuga, chief, started walking in front of the oldest elder. Some call you the real power of the clan, some even call you, in closed circles, that is, the real leader and ruler of the village. The man just sneered, he thought he was above the chief. There were no loopholes for the chief to use, Iho Hyuga could not be bullied. Clever, you went through all the paperwork and made sure you stopped your pay. In all truthfulness, I have no way to use my rank with the shinobi of the village to make you do anything. Chief spoke. For a moment Iho smiled to revel in his victory. Then he saw something that made his blood run cold, and the chief also smiled. I guess I will just have to bankrupt the Hyuga and take everything they own, putting all of you into indentured service till your debt to me is paid in full. Chief's smile fell as everyone gasped, and it was everyone, even the adults that knew about his relationship to the Hyugas had no idea why he would say that and even less knew how he could pull that off. What the hell are you saying, we owe you nothing. Iho roared. I need you to step forward as a witness. Chief spoke, turning away from Iho as he cut his thumb and went through a set of hand signs. A puff of smoke later revealed a capuchin monkey with a red vest, a small shoulder bag, and a pair of wire-rimmed round spectacles. The glasses actually showed that this monkey was older. Ah, Kuzai, it is rather late. What do I owe for this visit? The old monkey spoke then looked around at the gathering. Ah Hyuga elders. I know what you want, one moment. The monkey crawled into the small shoulder bag. Going deeper and deeper till the tip of his long tail vanished. Wait, I thought the Hokage was the monkey summoner. Kiba asked, shocked. Seems there are two, Shino replied. That is why their duel was a draw, they have much of the same training. Wonder what he is going to pull from the bag. Kurenai asked as Asuma stepped next to her, Anko snorted from her back. No idea, but it is a hell of a show. All we need is a guy selling dango and a beer, Asuma added as he watched. Ayoko just stepped closer to her son, who had yet to say anything to her. She did regret not talking to him all this time. And knew she would be paying for that mistake. Hinata just stood with Naruto staring at the chief, trying to work out the man, but she couldn't. She had to speak to him. The Ashi just stood like a post, he watched as the chief just stared down the elders and found himself looking forward to this. He was stuck with tradition and rules and guidelines he had to follow as head of the clan, chief did not, he could just bull rush his way through all that red tape. His family might just be saved if he survived chief's anger first. Here we go, the monkey spoke from in the bag, then everyone watched as a large piece of old folded up yellowing paper was seen being pushed up out of the bag. It was bigger than the monkey itself. That's a blood contract, Tenten told those around her. Used for blood seals. Whatever is written in that cannot be ignored or broken. The contract for the marriage of Hitomi and Kyoko to Hiashi and his Ashi Hyuga, the monkey spoke in an official tone. Who is to read it? Me, the Hokage spoke, and the monkey just nodded and leaped over to the old man. Hiruzen, good to see you, we warned you not to test Kuzai, the monkey spoke as he handed him the contract. The Hokage took it and started reading. I believe what he wants you to read is here, the monkey pointed. Out loud, the monkey spoke as the Hokage nodded and started reading. Clearing his voice, all clan members in the direct line of Chief Instructor Kuzai, starting with his daughters and ending with his 6 times great-grandchild, are exempt from ever wearing the mark known as the caged bird's seal. And should any of them for any reason ever before forced, made, or even asked to wear the seal, full refund of both brides' dowries is to be returned. That caught everyone in the Hyuga clan and most watchers. What's a dowry? Naruto whispered, but before anyone could answer the Hokage continued. Furthermore, an interest on said dowry of 75% a day every day will be charged the moment any Hyuga, regardless of whether they are main or branch, to start the moment, said seal is placed. 250. Chief started to speak for the first time since he called the monkey. Million. You could hear a falling on wet grass, Genma tested this out at the amount mentioned. 250 million, that is how much my daughters brought to the clan in their combined dowries, and I can call in that debt at any time with the interest that has been added up from the moment that seal touched my grandson's head. Chief growled and stepped to Iho who was pale. Now can the Hyuga clan pay all that including the interest right now? How? How much is that? Kiba asked. Let me do the maths. Shika started to say. Hey Naruto, Choji cried out. And when the others looked, Naruto was on the large boy's shoulders, trying to get up on his head in an attempt to get away from the maths. Seriously, Naruto, you need to work on that fear of maths. If Yuden found out he would own you, Shino spoke calmly, trying not to laugh. Against her will, Hinata finally moved and looked at the blonde who was hissing and fighting to stay on the boy's head, even as said boy was trying to pull him down. Once again, his antics broke through and Hinata giggled, breaking her out of her shocked silence. Come here Naruto, come down. I'll protect you from the evil maths, she called, causing a few to chuckle as the boy slowly climbed down. Back with the elder and the chief, no one had spoken. Iho knew the clan did not have that much money, even with all the lands and properties around the Land of Fire, he could. No, he did own the Hyuga clan. Sitting down, Chief barked as he pointed to the dirt next to the other three. Once he did, Chief spun around and decked Hiashi, dropping him to the ground. That was for using that fucking seal on your brother, Chief roared, then pulled the man to his feet before decking him again. That was for using the seal on your brother in front of his son. Then the chief spun and pulled his cane, spanking Kyoko on the ass with it. That is for not stopping him. He called as his daughter just rubbed her rear. And you? Chief called, turning to the still silent Niji. You, my grandson, have more right to hate the main family than anyone. You may just have the right to hate them more than me. It is a close thing. But here he growled louder and got into the boy's face. Of all the people to hate, condemn, ridicule, insult and just be an ass to. Why did you choose to be an ass to the one person who always treated you with a smile and tried for years to be nice and kind and caring to you? Niji slowly stared at the man, then turned to look at Hinata. He could not answer. That is a level of stupid I will not allow in my shinobi forces nor my family, Chief continued. Either I will beat that stupid out of you. Or I will kill you, would not be the first time I killed a family member for being that stupid. The chief looked at the group, Hinata came here, and the girl with Naruto and the boys, they were not leaving her side, walked to him. The chief looked around at the Hyugas. Do you call her a failure? The elders hate her. He looked at Hiashi and glared. Yet no one knows why the elders hate her so badly. Mai smiled and pulled out a piece of paper many recognized as litmus paper. Everyone watch close, Chief called, and here Hiashi was trying to prepare the final nail to his coffin if what he fears happens. He is fucked. Just mold a small amount of chakra. Hinata nodded and took the paper. In a split second the paper became soaked and split in two at the same time. She has her mother's affinity, Kyoko shouted, shocked and happy. Ah. Naruto spoke. I will get an explanation about this at some time, right? Causing all to sweat drop. The chief started. That the elders were so cruel to her as she has the affinity that had beat all of them over and over again. Hinata could use the Tsuki no Yasashi plus gentle dance of the moon. A style of Jaiken that only her mother could use. And one Hitomi did use to beat everyone. They feared Hinata. That shocked everyone, Hiashi most of all. Why my daughter loved you? I will never know, she saw something in you that I could not, still cannot, Chief spoke calmly. I suggest you show me what it was she saw. Before I rip your fucking spine out. He went to the Hokage who was still reading the contract, making sure everything was legal. Thank you Haku, he told the monkey, please inform Mac that I will be needing him and his crew for the next several weeks if not months. The monkey just nodded and as the Hokage finished took the contract back and then poofed out. King Enma? Chief asked, looking at the staff the Hokage had with him. The white head of the Monkey King popped out. There is a fight coming, tell your brother to be ready. Are you sure he will be needed? The monkey asked in a concerned tone. You know how I feel about overkill. Chief replied and turned away as the large monkey just nodded with a sigh. Looking at the group watching him, he turned to those he was training that day and checked his watch. That's 1 hour, you only have an hour left of lunch to make sure you're ready. He called and the group took that as a reason to head back. Everyone but Hinata, and with her staying the boys stayed. Hinata, we will have to speak of this, but not tonight, I promise tomorrow night we'll talk and you can ask me anything you wish. Nodding she just turned and headed back with the rest. Naruto hesitated. Is what happened here something I should know about and understand? He asked the chief. Boy, what happened here should never have needed to happen, eyes out, those looking to harm Hinata have just lost everything. They will harm her now more out of revenge than anything else. And they will be desperate now. The chief and Naruto turned and left. Kyoko looked at the pale Hiashi. What the hell happened to you? She asked, looking over his beaten form. Training dummy, was all he said. Then you better run, she turned and walked back to her hut. Hiashi just nodded and started to walk with what little dignity he had left as the head of the clan. Chief came out of nowhere and cracked the Hyuga across the back of his thighs. She said, run, you have no dignity, you are not a clan leader today, you are nothing but my personal punching bag. And if you don't wish this to continue tomorrow. Run. Chief shouted as he vanished again. As the group returned to the training ground, those who had not eaten quickly fixed that and the rest just sat and rested and a few talked. I need something to distract me. Emmy, Hinata spoke out after a moment of silence. Shino. Time? Naruto asked. Again, we ran for 2 hours and 20 minutes, this time we did 5 laps, so between 7 and 7.5 miles per hour speed. I was aiming for 8, Choji interrupted. I noticed but we got tired halfway through the 4th lap and slowed, Shino corrected. Then 40 minutes for the equipment check, Shika continued. 1 hour counts as 2 hours of sparring and an hour of lunch. You're not going to trick me into doing maths. Again, what time is it? Naruto growled, causing Hinata to giggle. Just after 5, Chief spoke as he walked by. And that fear of maths. I will help you with. Oh, can't you just beat me to death? Naruto whined. Why would I do that when I can torture you worse with a math test? Chief smiled, causing Naruto to pale and his friends to snicker. All too soon the time was running low and everyone got ready for the swim. I said no waits Lee, Chief yelled as he walked by Sakura and Ino, both wore the standard swimsuits built for swimming and not showing off, as Anko puts it trying to show off what they don't have yet. Chief nodded and moved down the line. I don't care Tsume, you cannot swim naked. He barked at the alpha female. The woman finally took the suit that covered almost nothing from her pleading daughter and changed, after being forced to change away from the group. Toji and Shino were again in their full bodysuits as well as the Hokage. You kids better get over your shyness around nudity, we know you are young, but it has killed shinobi in the past, and Chief won't let any of you leave the village on a mission with it. The old monkey summoner told them. Alright, get set, Chief ordered, and as the group went to the beach and stood ready, no splashing, I don't want to see a single bit of white water, and I want you all to be working to limit the wake, that is the trail you leave behind you as you swim, added, seeing a few confused faces. Ready? Begin, everyone hits the water. Crack. I said no splash Lee. Chief barked. Neji and Sasuke were first out again, moving very fast as they swam. They both showed great skill as there was not a single splash and almost no wake. Sakura and Ino were second, going much slower, but staying together, Anko walking behind them as they swam. Then came Tenten and Guy. Lee was wanting to catch up to his rival, but Guy reminded him about also working on his patience training and reminded how Chief puts more than one test in his training. So, he chooses to stay with his sensei and teammate. Next came the boys and Hinata, again Dog was walking behind them. This no splash thing is harder than it sounds, Kiba said as he worked to keep speed without splashing. Naruto rolled on his back and looked at Dog. Have many shinobi died due to splashing? The silent ANBU just nodded in reply, then used the same hand signs Mai uses. Many they get spotted trying to swim into fortresses or try to swim out in the water, many are unable to defend. He really worries about us dying, doesn't he? Choji asked. Cares more than most. The adults were in the back of the line also swimming in a group. You realize we are not suffering as our kids did yesterday, Shibi spoke as they traveled. Yes, I know, Inoichi replied. We are getting more rest time than they did. Yesterday was just to remove the trash, Kai replied as she glided through the water. You must be proud of Miyuki. And why would I be proud? The woman replied. Your daughter actually chose to come back for this. Almost the whole group replied at once. Yes, our daughter might just make it. Hopefully, Kizashi nodded. Just then Sasuke and Neji passed the group of adults as they were returning to the starting bank. Fools, Tsume smiled. The Ashi was swimming hard. Under the water. 90 meters at a time, and as he came up for air he was so smooth not even a ripple in the water's surface. The only reason anyone could see him was every time he came up to breath, crack. Chief was always there waiting, squatting there looking at the man they married his daughter after the 10th time. Teamwork is always better, Hyuga. Shouldn't you return and join your peers? Chief asked as he stood and waited. The Ashi just turned back and swam to the other adults. Welcome back Hiashi, Tsume started with a smile. I bet the chief had to remind you, didn't he? Yes, Lady Tsume. Crack. Chief just hit him again, he was now training blood in the water. Fool, did you forget, Kai growled. We have no titles, we are not clan heads or lords and ladies. We are just fodder when we are in the chief playground. The only one with a title here, Hiashi, Nara spoke. Is you as the training dummy. Sasuke and Neji made it to the bank of the lake at the same time, they found Mai waiting with a warm smile. Both boys climbed out and had their hands on their knees as they painted. Crack boys held their heads, did we say stop? She signed and both boys groaned only to be responded by another crack with a cane to each skull. The boys quickly got back in the water and started their new lap. As they passed the groups Neji watched the eyes of those he swam past and a thought occurred to him. When he made it to where his team was he slowed and silently swam with Guy Tenten and Lee. Guy looked at him and just nodded. Sasuke had no thoughts as he just tried to be first, he would swim past everyone back and forth. Never stopping, in fact he actually noticed that Neji was no longer racing him for some reason that bothered him, but he could not figure out why. 3 times each team swam that lake, but by the end everyone was tired. Almost everyone. Dress, Chief barked. It did not take long, and it was silent as everyone quickly dressed again and followed the chief back to the circles. Katas begin. Everyone started their preferred style. Anko and Kurenai were quickly correcting Ino and Sakura. Well, Anko would crack, then Kurenai would tell them why. Good teamwork. Sakura Haruno, chief called, and as the girls stopped to look at the chief, Anko quickly fixed that. Smartest Kunoichi, reports say you scored the highest on the academy tests. Did you learn anything? Sakura started to open her mouth. Stay quiet, Sakura, Hinata shouted to stop her. The normally gentle girl had a dislike for the Pink, but she did not want to hear what stupid words that Pink was about to say. Sakura closed her mouth and just continued to work through her kata. Personally, and this is the best case scenario, you just memorize what you read and just copy the answers on the tests without learning a damn thing. Chief replied as he started walking away. The ability to memorize facts well is a skill all shinobi should have. Not being able to actually learn from the information will get you and other shinobi killed. As shinobi, every action, whether on mission or not, can and will have a consequence. You must be alert at all times. Sooner or later you will be faced with an opponent that you insulted 5, 10, 20 years ago who will come at you for revenge. You will forget all about them, but their hatred for you won't let them forget. He moved through the ranks, correcting here and there, cracking Hiashi as he walked by. Ignoring Sasuke. When this happens, they will talk, brag, walk right into a monologue of revenge, giving you time to form a plan and use their rage to set them up to fail. Everyone thought about those words, even the Uchiha. For about 2 seconds, what does he know, Sasuke asked himself. Tomorrow, if you choose to come back, bring a pack as you won't be able to leave for 5 days. That got all the kids to pause for a second. And be here at 6 in the morning. The whimpering sound could be heard. At first, they thought it was one of the dogs. Tiba stopped crying, his mother shouted. Dismissed, see you tomorrow, Hiashi, make sure Kyoko is with you, Chief spoke, giving the Hyuga no room to argue. Anko Kurenai to me. As the kids and their parents started to leave. Well, I have to head to the weapon shop, anyone going with me? Naruto asked. Hinata just smiled and nodded, causing the others to join with them. How am I going to wake up that early? Kiba asked in a whisper. We will find a way, Shino replied. The 2 women stood before the chief. Starting tomorrow, if you return, you will no longer be instructors, but will be joining the kids. Chief spoke and Anko looked ready to argue. Kurenai, you are set to be a Jonin sensei. I wish to make sure you are ready. Some have questioned your skills as a team leader. Anko. Ibiki wants you to do this, and so do I. Really? Why? Anko questioned. Sooner or later the snake will return. Are you sure you can beat him right now? He uses rage and revenge as his tools. Can you beat him? If you think you can't, show up tomorrow. If not. Chief vanished, leaving the 2 girls. Kurenai was nodding as she wondered who was saying she couldn't do the job. Anko was just looking deep into herself. Naruto held the kunai in his hand and rolled it through his fingers. I may not know anything about weapon making, but even I can feel a difference, Naruto spoke. Yes, Shino added. These are of a quality above most other smiths. Makes me wonder the difference with the other dealers, Shika asked. These are better than my clan's, Hinata said as she tested the shuriken. Here you are, a standard setup for long-term missions, Jen spoke as he placed a standard pack fully loaded on the counter. I am sure with your storage seals it will be easier to carry. Naruto took the pack and smiled as he looked through. Always good to double-check your equipment, but I suggest doing it at home, it is late, Jen ushered them out the door. Naruto smiled, put the bag on his shoulders and led them off, back to Kiba's compound. They chose that place because it had a better defense, and from what Naruto could tell, everyone there, especially the Kunoichi, liked Hinata. Once there and after checking for watchers again, they all sat around a small fire pit in the courtyard. Shikamaru. I spotted 6 people eyeing Hinata at the Hyuga compound. Once Chief pulled his trump card. Only 2 still looked at her. The rest realized the plan was over. Same, Shino nodded. It was too much fear, I could smell desperation but could not pinpoint. Kiba added. The parents were also watching, Choji spoke as he started on a late night snack. We should ask them to watch while we are at this overnight. But something tells me they don't need to be asked. I really don't know what to think, Hinata started. Don't worry too much, Naruto started. I doubt any of us know what to think. Especially me. We will get our answers when it's time. Who knows, maybe we are not ready for them yet. That is actually a smart idea, Shino nodded. Who are you and what have you done with our blonde moron? Kiba smiled as Choji laughed. It worked, Hinata giggled, that night ended quickly. It was already midnight and they had less than 6 hours to sleep. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoy it. If you want the next part of this video, turn on that bell notification. Like, subscribe and comment down below. And also check out the others videos I have created and enjoyed it. See you guys next video.